everyone, Kelly here from Kellie, Chasse, Fine Art. I am a big old mess this morning. I didn't comb my hair, for you guys don't care anyway. So happy Tuesday morning to you all once again. Grab your cup of coffee. Today we're going to cover, last week we did the roses or whatever flowers they were, carnations, and this week we're going to do this same one but using alcohol inks. So stick around and I'll show you all the details on how to create this alcohol ink flower illustration. I do have full online classes. You can find them over there at my website at kellylynart.com, where I have over 2,500 students in 85 different countries and over 24 online classes that have lifetime access. So head over there and check those out. I'm totally looking in the wrong spot. Over there. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where I have new videos every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you click that subscribe button and click the little bell and you'll never miss one. Well, good morning, my artsy friends. So last week, if you are new here, I did this painting with watercolor, and we are curious to see how this looks and how it reacts with alcohol inks. So we're gonna do this flower demonstration or illustration using alcohol inks today. And I did want to mention happy Earth Day, everyone. And it's also my birthday. Again, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But let's just say I'm one away from the big 5-0. So I'm really going to enjoy the last little bit of my 40s. My husband's actually taking me away to Boothbay Harbor for a weekend away on a house on the ocean. So I'll be sharing some pictures. Hopefully I'll get some new things that I can paint and we can share together. So for today, back to today, living in the now, I am going to be attempting this with alcohol ink, and I'm going to be using mineral paper here. Now, if you've ever tried Yupo paper, mineral paper is a very inexpensive version of Yupo paper in some respects. It's made out of rocks. It's a lot thinner. It still has that smooth finish, and it does have a tendency to buckle a little bit more than what the heavyweight Yupo paper will do, or even regular weight Yupo paper. But I really like the mineral paper, and if you are doing, demos and you're being cost effective and conscious of what you're spending, and this is practice, this is great stuff to use. So I have very inexpensive brushes here. I've got more of a square brush and a round brush, and I'm going to try both of these because I want to see the difference it makes with the petals for this one. I'm going to be using Panada inks, and I have the little Ranger kit here. These are great little paint palettes. You can see I've got a little mess going on with the blue down there, but you can drop your inks in there and they dry out, and then you can just reactivate them with alcohol. So very similar to watercolor in that respect, but instead of using water, you use alcohol. So I'm going to squirt in some fresh yellow here. So my other one was a little tainted there. And we're going to start making the yellow roses. Oops, got a little bit on there. No worries, we're going to spritz this anyway. So if you watched last week's, you already pretty much know how to make the shape of the flower, but now you can instantly see the difference and how this really spreads out. Now as this ink dries on my brush here, this is getting much easier to control. So if you look at that center area, it's very bloomed. So we're just going to reshape that now that that's drying just a little bit. And if you've used alcohol inks before, you know that they dry very quickly. If you are new to alcohol inks and this is the first time you've seen my YouTube channel, or you are just experiencing alcohol inks for the first time, they are a fantastic medium and different in so many ways to any other medium that's out there. But the key to alcohol inks as far as more control is on how dry that your inks are. So again, another great reason to use the little paint palettes if you want to do lots of details. You can also use Sharpies or markers And they do have a couple different versions that Copic markers and Spectrum Noir are alcohol ink based, and those are really fun to work with as well. If you want these to bloom out a lot, then make sure your ink is nice and wet. And if you are a watercolorist, you probably already have a little bit of an idea on, similar to when you work with watercolors, the more wet that your paper is, or the more medium that you have on your brush, the more that will spread. And alcohol inks are similar in that respect. So the drier they are, the more contained they are. So those worked out pretty good. They look quite similar, I think. Now alcohol inks are a little bit brighter than watercolors. A lot of times those the pigments in them are just very, very bold. Now alcohol inks are not light fast, which means that you will have to seal this, and I do have a full online course if you are interested in it with lilacs and also a sunflower. So I will put a special coupon link for you down below, and I go over all of the sealing the inks and all that good stuff. So there's some more information in there for you than what we have just for this demo here. So this is the square brush. Now you can see they're a lot wider. Still pretty easy to control it. I think I actually like this a little bit better than the round pointed one. Get that shape in there well. So I think we're going to try a little bit of the chili pepper, if I can tell what that is anymore. I had a little explosion in one of my bags where I was carrying my alcohol inks to one of my live classes. So we didn't put the top back on, which was unfortunate. So if you do teach classes, or if you're taking your alcohol inks out somewhere, make sure you put them in baggies or at least a container so that if you do have a spill, it's contained. And then you'll have to guess from here on out what color you are using, because a lot of times it will cover up what you have. Alright, comment below who's actually had that happen to them already. Let me know. We want to feel your pain. So this is quite dry. You can see where it's, this one was in my paint palette, and I'm just using a little bit, actually not alcohol, but I'm using the, what is it called? It's not the blending solution. It's called a cleanup solution by Panada Inks, which is very similar to alcohol, but it doesn't have quite the smell. So if you have issues with the smell, this isn't too bad because most of this ink is dry anyway while I'm using this. But make sure you have good ventilation, and if smell bothers you, the cleanup solution is a great thing to use in place of alcohol. And I do want to mention, when I'm working with alcohol, it's usually the 91%, and you can usually find that at most pharmacies, at least here in the United States. If you are overseas, I know that they had sometimes they have a hard time finding that. So again, cleanup solution is another option for you. And I've known that some folks have actually used alcoholic vodka to be able to use this. I have not tried that yet. So I have a little bit of the magenta here. So we have yellow, magenta, chili pepper, orange. Trying to make it similar to our demo from last week here. And just finishing up just a few more little roses, and we will then be adding some of the leaves. So grab a green, any color green that you might have. You can use a little bit of that yellow as well with the green to give yourself some highlights. Yeah, just a few more of the orange ones in here. I seem to be creating these faster and faster now. Now that one bloomed. You can see both of my orange, so I had just poured a little bit more in my tray, and I didn't give it enough time to dry up a little bit, so you can see how those are really bloomed. But you know, that's pretty too. That can give it a neat little effect. It looks like a different type of flower if you let it bloom. So just putting in just a few little sprigs here of the stems, and Once again, that was quite dry. The ink's not real wet, so you can see here where I did that last stroke, it's almost dried right up. Very important to make sure that that is dry, because as you go through those areas that your flowers are in, if you have anything that's really wet, it will reactivate your ink in the flower. So we'll put just a couple little leaves on here. Again, really easy to do with this square brush. Adding a little yellow to that one just to give it a different shade. So far, so good. So remember my subscribers list, I do have an email sign up, and I often will do new courses every month. So if you want to get on that list, I usually will send out a special coupon for my subscribers on there. So I will put a link up here on the top right hand side for you if you have not yet signed up or subscribed to my newsletter. I would love to have you do that. And you also get a free watercolor course when you sign up. And if you've never tried watercolor, it's a great beginner course. It's a little scene of Maine that I did looking through the window at a bed and breakfast. All right, now we're going to do a little bit of splatter technique. So I'm going to load up my brush here with a little bit of ink. Now here is the trick with splattering. You don't want a lot of ink on here because it will reactivate your other inks. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. If you were to spray this with a varnish, it will seal the inks that are there, and you could always splatter on top of that if you wanted to, but you don't get quite that nice blooming effect as you do when it has not been yet sealed. So I often won't seal. I'll just, let this take its own direction, and I think the blooms actually look quite pretty. But again, small brush, very fine brush, so it doesn't load up with a lot of ink, and you just tap the very end of it and you can create a little bit of the splatter. And then if you need to touch it up in some little places, you can always do that. So now I'm just going to grab my black Sharpie here, and you can see that my roses are very free-forming here. I know that I'm going to cover this up with a lot of Sharpie for some more detail, so if those roses aren't perfect, no worries. When you put the Sharpie on top of it, you can really kind of shape those out a little bit more. So I'm just finishing up here with the black Sharpie, going ahead and hitting the stems. I hope you guys liked to see the difference between the watercolor and the alcohol ink, and I'm really curious as to which one you liked better. So leave me a comment down below if you prefer the alcohol ink or the watercolor. And please make sure, if you try this, share it with me on my Instagram page. Make sure you click that like button and click that share button. You can share on Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Google, all of the above. And you can also copy it and paste it somewhere as well. And if you haven't yet checked out my Amazon shop, all of the merchandise that I use in my videos, you can click there, and it will take you to my Amazon shop where I have everything listed. And as always, if you do purchase from me, I really appreciate it. That just helps me be able to afford to purchase more items so that I can share them with you on here. And I wanted to mention to you guys too, if you like this and you like alcohol inks, I do have another video for you on a pansy that I had done a while back. You might want to check that out. So I'll put the link up there for you. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative week. I hope to see you all next Tuesday.